When it comes to Deep Sea, alongside being visually stunning to the point of feeling like a AAA video game, like how Final Fantasy felt back in the day, it is also an emotional experience, especially as it enters its third act. Before we summarize the film, let it be noted, I'm probably going to butcher some of these names. My bad. But to summarize, life hasn't been easy for Shinzu since her mom left. Her dad remarried, her dad also has a new kid, and you can tell his wife, while she's not an evil stepmom, at the same time her focus is on her new baby brother. And unfortunately, this leaves her kind of being like baggage from her dad's past relationship and often an afterthought. And no, while neither abuse her, they do neglect her, and this includes even on her birthday. But Shinzu does hope that one day her mom will return, or at the very least reach out, and that this will allow her to have some semblance of the love that she desperately wants and needs. And this is why when it comes to going on to a cruise ship, which seemingly could have been a birthday gift, but maybe became like a family trip instead, she so badly hopes that after a few strange moments in her meeting this thing that's called a hijinks, maybe this hijinks may lead her back to her mom, and maybe this eccentric ship captain named Nahe, he may help her in order to achieve her goal. So, first and foremost, notable thing about this movie is that the animation is gorgeous. It's so beautiful that sometimes you want to pause just to take note of how they animated the pores, or maybe just slow down to see how the hair moves, and it really makes you wonder what did they use to make this film, because especially if you're kind of into tech, it looks like the kind of stuff that Unreal 5 is being advertised of being capable of, even though we don't see a lot of like cascading rocks and all that, but just the way hair moves, the way people move, sometimes it's like something that's enhanced. It's like an enhanced version of what Hayao Miyazaki provides, and I would even say it competes with some of Pixar's best work. So, the next notable thing is the credits, and while the credits are completely in Chinese characters, so I can't read them worth a damn, it does provide you a sort of epilogue regarding Shinsu's story, and on top of that, it even allows you to see Nahe's book. And I would say this keeps you engaged far more than a lot of mid-credit and end-credit or any type of credit designs usually do, even though it doesn't go throughout the whole complete credits of the film. But what it does keep you aware of what happens, how things go for Shinzu after the film ends, and pretty much it's just a lot of extra information that some may not feel as necessary, but is so valuable for people who want more. The next highlight to us is that how it depicts trauma and depression, since when it comes to coming of age films, whether you're talking about preteen, teenagers, that age group, 9 times out of 10 it's not focused on young girls. It's usually focused on boys and what they're going through, and maybe a girl may play a supporting character in all this, usually as a love interest or a best friend, maybe a sister. But as for just being about them, and it being, in comparison to Hayao Miyazaki, again, not being about the girl finding a boyfriend or anything like that, but her singular journey through life and trying to understand and deal with her emotions, this is what Deep Sea provides. And I have to admit, at sometimes it can get you a little shaken, because especially as we move into the third act, as we go through her dealing with abandonment issues, her trying to reconcile the idea that her mom doesn't like her, doesn't love her, doesn't want her in her life, and then you learning the full story of what happened, which led to her going to this fantastical world where walruses and amphibians are eating at this grand restaurant. There's a good chance it's going to bring you to tears. I'm not going to say how badly it's going to bring you to tears, but it's going to affect you emotionally. With that said, our on the fence topic is it does sometimes feel a little bit longer than it needs to be, because it's interesting in the beginning when everything's set up where you learn about Shinsu's life and she gets transported to this different world, but the middle of it, as you watch Nahe try to manage this restaurant and get 5 stars, And then Shinzu is kind of suppressed a bit because he doesn't want to deal with this thing called the Red Phantom that seemingly feeds off of people's grief and fears. The movie does slow down a bit, and yes, it does have these interesting characters in terms of animation, but when it comes to the walruses and the otters, there's not a lot of explanation of why we have these humanoid animals walking around and they're still actually humans and what's going on with this world. Which is why the third act is so impactful, because during the second act you're just kind of in a lull because you're just like, ooh, pretty. And then when the third act hits, that's when you realize how much of this all was a dream in some kind of way, and then it's just one or two gut punches that just leave you gasping in a way that, the best way I can put it is, maybe intentionally you were given this lull after getting very used to the animation and getting this sad story to start things off, and because of the lull, that's why the third act hits hard. But I don't know, it feels like the whole Nahei trying to get 5 stars, Shinzei being expected to help and all that, it could have been cut so that instead of nearly 2 hours, this movie could have been 90 minutes, maybe even less. Overall, Deep Sea will make you want to have the most high-tech television or PC monitor you can find, even though your eyes will become too blurry with tears by the time this is all over.